Thank you, Sister Carol. Hotep, acknowledging the Creator, who is the source of all life, power, and health. Acknowledging our ancestors, in particular, our most recent ancestor, Dr. John Henry Clark. Acknowledging our Queen, Nzinga, the President of the Association for the Study of Classical African Civilization. Acknowledging the workers who have put together the conference. Acknowledging Morris Brown College for being the home and the place of a spirit of African love and destiny. I got a letter dated July 24th from the president of the Association for the Study of Classical African Civilizations. And it is because of that letter that I shaped my presentation for this afternoon. She is a vigilant person situated in a place where you can see trends, where you can see things happening all over the country, and in fact, all over the world. And I want to share with you some parts of that letter. Thank you very much. And then I have some fairly specific things to say in response to it. She said, "Dear colleague," and this letter went out to a number of those of us in ASCAC, so I'm not the only one that got the letter. She said, "We know you're busy, but it's a critical time that you take out 5 minutes to read this letter. We are writing about the growing assault against Afrocentricity as a discipline and a recent attack against your work on Black history and culture. We believe that it is imperative that Black scholars organize an effective offensive to address these issues. But before we consider this, let us first clarify the nature of the problem." Then she cites, number one, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas recently stated in an interview that he avoids hiring as law clerks applicants who have taken courses on race or African American studies. And then she attached the news article where Clarence Thomas is quoted as having made that statement. Two, the University of California Regent Ward Connery, who campaigned for an end to race-based college admissions in California, has called on the University of California system to re-examine ethnic studies programs and other race or ethnic-based pursuits. And of course, what you know that means is the hope for elimination of those departments and courses where African people have an opportunity to do the research, to study themselves. And as you know, Ward Connery is a Negro regent. Number three, Mr. Eric Martel, who is a high school teacher in Washington, D.C., has written to thousands of schools in the United States condemning Afrocentricity. And in his letter, he provides a list of Black authors from Tony Browder to Frances Cress Welsing and their publications, and requests that the teachers and administrators remove these works from classroom libraries. So it's not just Tony and Frances, but if you saw the list, it's almost everybody that you read. That those are the books, Dr. Clark's book, Dr. Jop's book, John Jackson's books. Those are the books that were identified on this list, and this letter actually went out, I have copies of the letter, asking that those books be removed. In other words, that Africans and no one else should have access to the writings. And it's a high form of censorship, of course. Then she says, number four, since 1989, every major newspaper, magazine, and journal, as well as countless television and radio talk shows, have engaged in a broad-gauged, unilateral assault against Afrocentricity. Only one major magazine has provided a proponent of Afrocentricity an opportunity to publish his opinion. So if you listen to talk radio, if you listen, and if you read, you'll know that our president was confirmed in what she said. The attacks have been going on actually for a long time, at least for a decade in a fairly intense way. Number 5, several books have also been written attacking Afrocentricity. Among those are the book by Arthur Schlesinger, The Disuniting of America, which has a rogues gallery with pictures of some of the African scholars, including mine, I might add, and an argument that the African scholars are responsible for pulling the nation apart by the mere fact that African tradition is studied. The book Not Out of Africa by Mary Lefkowitz, which challenges the fundamental notion that Africans are Africans, that those people in the Nile Valley who erected pyramids were actually African people. Presumably they were Europeans who managed in their spare time to leave home and come to Africa and build things in Africa that they were never capable of building at home. And after building them, then they went home and forgot about the fact that they had built them. And then there is Black Athena Revisited, edited by Mary Lefkowitz. I'm not sure if it's Mary Lefkowitz only, but I think there were 2 authors of that. And then there's the book The End of Racism by Dinesh D'Souza, who comes from the country that gave us the caste system in India, and is now telling us that there is no racism in America. There's something that I'll say about him and others in a moment. And then finally, Sister Nzinga speaks about Stephen Howe, an Oxford scholar who has written a new book, and this one has just come out, called Afrocentrism, Mythical Past and Imagined Homes. She says, this is by far the most comprehensive, provocative, and demeaning assault against black scholarship ever published. It is a dangerous attack on most of the work of our elders and on most of our contemporary scholars. Because of the way it is marketed, we believe that the author and publisher expect African Americans to purchase the book and trigger a national controversy by our response to it. Although we believe that the book must be critiqued, we are urging black people not to publish it. You say, how do I get it? Well, you borrow a copy from the library. I can't tell you to Xerox it because that would be illegal. I said I can't tell you to Xerox it because that would be illegal. In addition to the above, many of our black studies programs and departments are threatened with extinction. In fact, some are already extinct. Some of the core African studies departments are extinct. Those that are most African are those that are at greatest risk of being extinct, even as those that advertise themselves not to be African are being more fully funded. In spite of the growing threat to our publication and discipline, few black scholars have spoken out in defense of our tradition and our work. It is the opinion of the ASCAC board that this state of black indifference and denial in the face of growing menace that could destroy everything we